we're back and everything's nice and dry. So what we're going to do then is we're going to we'll start with this flower here, these little marks in there. We're going to be using straight Alizarin Crimson with a lot of water. I'm using a number, actually I have a number 1 here. This is a 2. I'm going to also, just because I do see some lines in there from the pencil that I don't want to stay in there, so I'm going to go over with the eraser one more time. And again, you want to make sure your paper is completely dry. Otherwise you could be picking up paint with your eraser, and you don't want to do that. Just a few spots here that I noticed. There we go. So you always want to be looking at your work, see what you think you need to do. So I'm going to clean my brush, roll it on my baby diaper so it doesn't have any drips on the ferrule or the handle. Since this is line work, you want to make sure your brush is pulled through that paint to a tip. So I'm going to pull this down over here, and we're going to start on the upper left hand side. Alright, so it's right in here. You want your brush at a 90-degree angle up and down so that you get the most fluid. Now there's one pretty close to right beside that one. Now you don't want to make this up because it's important that you follow your photograph, because it can look pretty bogus if you don't make it correctly. Now this one's pretty dark, so I'm going to load it a little bit darker. And I skipped over some in the middle, but that's okay. 90-degree angle, brush is at a point. See how much darker that came out as I rolled it in? That's okay, because these ones over here are darker. So we'll just continue with these. Actually, there's another lower one down here. I'm going to go to the lighter value, because these ones down here are lighter. And then we're almost done with these on this petal. There's some dots down here too that we need to put in, but let's get these in. These are almost right in a line here. There we go. Now we got those two in, we got those in. Oh, there's another dark one over here. Oh, I got those in. But then dark one right here. And value is important. You want to make sure you get them the correct value, which is the darkness or the lightness of the color itself. So it's important. There's just some dots down here that we're going to put in. that you get the right value for these so that they look correct as well. Okay, now that petal is done. Actually, there's a couple different petals there, but now this one right here seems to be a little darker and a little thicker than what I have it. So as long as I have this moist, I'm going to go ahead and widen it out with a darker value. And it does come down quite a ways. There we go. This one too is darker, so we'll just add some more value or paint on top of that one. Okay. Yep, that looks good. All right. We should be able to keep our hands out of that. Now this entire flower is all darker. So we're gonna just go right back to the Alizarin Crimson. Darken that in. Actually, what I'm going to do here too, so I'm going to move that, but I want this darker, this color as well. So I'm going to move this, but I want you to be able to see me, and it looks like you can. So we're going to work on this area here and just darken it up. It's almost this color instead of the darker purple color. And now's the time to correct it. Yeah, I like that better. And the outside edge of that petal is this colored value too. So we're going to darken it, bring in some points where they need to be. They look a little different than the picture, but that's okay. Depends on the way that we've drawn it on the watercolor. And everybody's going to draw it just a little bit differently. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, now that I've got that in there, that top part, I want to soften in. I'm picking up a number 4. Make sure you can see me, and I'm just going to, we're just doing it wet on dry. So I'm just going to soften this edge in. Kind of cleans up that outside edge a little bit too. Soften this edge in. There we go. I like that much better. Now, right in here, I neglected, so we'll correct it to put some darkness right underneath this petal as well. I've got it in down here, which I'm going to go over with this color too, because I like this color better. Now I did go up in size on my brush because I like this number 2. For me, I like a larger brush. It's just easier. I was taught years ago to use a large brush as you can handle, and you can get a lot more done because it carries a lot more paint. I'm cleaning my brush, wiping off any drips, and we're just going to pull this so it softens in to our petal. Now you don't want to go right up to the edge and pull out all that color. You just want to pull out the, or I should say, you don't want to go up to the inside and pull out all that color. You just want to go to the edge. And pull out the edge of that color. Soften this in a little bit better so it's got a place to go with the water. And as long as this is still moist even, you can move it, soften it in. Just don't want a hard line there if at all possible. Now, there is one thing I do want to do, and I'm going to go back to this petal, is I do want to fill in this open space here, because there really isn't any with the Opera Rose is the color I used there. Okay, so we got that set up the way I wanted it. That's a good thing. Darken this area the way I wanted it, so we're good there. Now I'm going to soften in some of this over here too, just to get that reddish tone in there. Really kind of a red flower, not a purple flower, so we want a pinkish flower, I should say. And you do have a little bit under here. Alright. I'm just going to soften that entire and I'm going to bring my brush this way so I don't have to move the board on you. I think we need just a touch over here. Okay. Some of these edges need to be harsh and some of them need to be soft, so you want to make sure you get the ones you want soft and on the outside edges of these. And I like that a lot better. We're going to do the same thing there. Just going over some of the purple. And a little bit of this up here too. Just softens it out a little bit more than that. Dark purple in there. There we go. That looks a lot better. Alright, now we need to put our lines in there. And since these are darker, make sure I get a lot of dark in here. I have no drips on my brush. There we go. We're going to start on that side so I don't get my hands in it. Now this area right here is a little bit of a flip forward, so there's no real, talking about this area right here, there's no real markings on it. So we'll start over in here and get these ones on that petal done first. And try to keep my hands out of everything. Make sure you can see me, and it looks like you can. And again, these are darker, so you want to make sure you get those a little bit darker in color. Add the Alizarin Crimson, more so if you need to. These were actually flowers my son gave me for Easter. He gave me a whole bouquet, and I separated these out because I knew I'd want to paint them. You want to follow the way that they're falling on the picture, the photograph, and you will get a copy of this. We still have our stamen heads to put in and so forth, so we're okay with that yet. Kind of lose track where you're at if you don't stay on top of it. Turn this one more time, because as they go over the petal, they change directions. Now there is a very large stamen head right there, right there, right there, and right there, and we're going to put those in right away as long as we're... Well, let's go ahead and finish the dots first. I'm sorry, I keep changing my mind on you, and I don't mean to do that. Just want to... I put that one down just a little thick, so I cleaned my brush. And now I'm just going to thin it out a little bit. I just use clean water, wiping it off in between, and making it thinner that way. That's better. There we go. And soften it in. Alright, so we got that. There's a couple little ones underneath here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those stamen in. Now for this other color I was doing Alizarin Crimson and just a touch of the Ochre Rose. Now I'm just going to do Alizarin Crimson for the stamen. Here's one more little mark up here. And down there. Alright, so let's get the stamen in here. Then all we need to do is connect our stamen to where they need to go. And that'll be good. There. Let's do the same thing on this petal. Get the stamen in. That's creating that illusion. Real close to each other right there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to dry this just because I don't want to lose what we just put down on there. And then we're going to do a glaze of Opera Rose over the top of this. So we'll be going to a larger brush. So I'll be right back with you. Alright, everything is dry and cool to the touch. So we're going to, I've got clear, brand new Opera Rose. I've added a lot of water because I want this to be a very thin wash. I've gone to a number 6 brush and we're going to go petal by petal. We're going to do this petal first. And this is just as if you were adding water for your water glaze. However, one important thing you need to make sure that you do is that you go right up to your edge. Otherwise, you will have a double edge and you'll be using your eradicator at the end to fix it, and you don't want to have to do that. You just want to make sure you got that nice glaze. You do not, please do not press hard, because you can pick up all the hard work that you've done beforehand. You do not. Now you do want some of that lighter, so start out where you want it to be the darkest. Again, it's your values that you're thinking about. So that petal's done. I'm going to turn it a little bit so I can get at this one a little bit easier. Now, let me look at, yeah, we're going to go right over that flip and cover that as well. Again, this is a real light glaze, but what it does is it unifies the entire painting together. Tones down that yellow a little bit, which is perfect. That's what we want. And if you do go over, don't worry about it. You can go back with your eradicator on your edges and fix it. It's not that big a deal, but if you can prevent it from happening, that's the way to go. You want enough water in your paint so it will move for you. Kind of tones down that purplish color too, which is nice. Alright. Now I am going to jump up to this one because I want those to dry. And I don't want to have them bleed into each other. Now your dark values are going to show through, your yellow is going to show through, your purples and your marks that we just put on. are going to show through. Of course, the stamen will definitely, because they're nice and dark, show through. You want to make sure you get that right up to the edge. Okay, we're going to jump that next petal and go on to this one. This will blend everything in together. Anytime you do detail work like that too, you want to put it under your glaze so that the glaze will soften it into those petals and make it appear as if it's a part of the petal, which is exactly the illusion we're trying to create here. Paper's pretty dry, so it's absorbing fluid pretty quickly. That's okay. That works. There we go. Now, I should be able to go ahead and do this petal. I am going to make some more paint just to be safe. Water it down pretty good. Don't forget, with watercolors, adding water lightens your paint and gives you another value to create form. Okay, we're going to do this petal next. That looks good. So we've done all three of those petals. So we've just got these two. So we'll do this one next. Should be okay since it's all the same color that we're adding in. And again, where you put your brush down first is going to be the darkest. And if you need to just pick up some water to pull it out, then that's all you need to do. There we go. And we got one petal to do. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Makes it, again, look more pink like it is. I like the way it tones down that yellow too. And don't forget, watercolors dry lighter than when you first put them down. So if it seems to be too dark too quick, don't worry about it. It'll dry lighter. Clean up your edges as you go. See how your light value still shows through, your yellow still shows through, your greens. Now I do want to, just because I don't want this to be a stark difference down here, I do want to add just a touch of the Opera Rose into our stems. I'm going to clean that off and soften that in. Gives it a value change too, in the sense that it's setting it down underneath that flower, and that's definitely what you want with a stem. Okay, now we can do a glaze on that too then. I'm going to dry this. In fact, why don't we? And then we can dry them all at the same time. I'm just picking up the Hooker's Green, just a real soft, light value. Lots of water. But then since you're adding water with your painting brush, be sure and I think we're going to have to do that after we dry it, because we want to make sure what I just put on there is dry first. So I'm going to set my brush aside. I'm going to dry this, and I will be right back with you, and then we're almost done. We're going to do the glaze of green, and then we're going to put the stems in there for the stamens, and we're done. Be right back. All right. I've got everything dried and cooled. And I really like it now with that glaze that we just put over the top. I've still got my brush ready to go with my green glaze. So I'm just going to put a green glaze on here. Soften in all those yellows and highlights and Opera Rose. And here again, you want to make sure you're getting right to the edge. You don't want any double edges, if at all possible, just to save yourself some time. Now that seemed to be just a little dark for me, so I'm just going to take some of it off. Yeah, I like that better already. Lighter. There we go. And all I'm doing is pulling it out, cleaning my brush, and softening it in. There we go. It looks a lot better. Kind of made everything go together with that as well. Now, the color that we're going to use for the stamen, they have pretty light. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Opera Rose. I always keep Winsor & Newton white, titanium white, on my palette. Now this is going to make it a little chalky in color, which is okay because then it's going to separate it from all the Opera Rose that's on there. And then it'll stand out. Now I did that with my number 6 brush, but I just added the white. Now I'm going to drop back down to my number 1. It's almost a liner. It's so small. There it is. So I got my number 1 brush. I always want to clean it out. Make sure there isn't any water on the ferrule. And pick up that pinky white color we just created. Now they got a lot more stamen in there than what we're going to do, but what we're going to do is go up on a 90-degree angle. Make sure that this can be seen. It almost needs more white. That's better. And again with white, you might have to put it on more than once to get the value that you're looking for. But with that pink in there, it's going to blend it in a little bit better to the design. You always want to bring your brush to a point. Now I can see it here. I don't know if you're able to see it, but it seems to be working okay with the real chalky white. And again, you do have to go over it more than once, so don't be surprised at that. You gotta have enough water in it though to make it move. Now, if you're not able to see it, you could even add a touch of yellow if you wanted to. But with all that yellow in that throat, not quite sure that would help that much. There we go. Now, I'm able to see it here. I don't know if you're able to pick it up on camera, but it looks pretty good. So, we're going to sign this. I'm going to pick up some of that Opera Rose. And again, you want to practice the way you sign your paintings. So that they look nice. I've been signing mine this way for so long. And since this is my own design, there we go. We are good to go with this painting. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there's going to be a, not this exact design, this one's going to go on YouTube, but there's going to be a more involved design with the leaves and another flower and so forth on Patreon. So keep an eye out for that. And that's at patreon.com/Colleen D. Aiken. And you'll find me right away. Thank you so much for following me. Please subscribe so that you can tell YouTube that you like my work and that you're looking forward to it. And thank you again. You have a lovely day.